Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
大家下午好. Thank you all for coming today in this a bit difficult time. My name is Yile, today's moderator, and the capacity of Zoom is limited. So for those who come late, please can join us on Facebook now. Okay. And I'd like to remind everyone that Architect Rida Razak's session will move to next Saturday on 31st of July, moderated by Architect Sunny. Instead, we are so glad to have YangYang, our speaker today from China. He will share with us some interesting and unique ideas about Chinese aesthetics and sustainability. And I also like to thank you also, Chairman of ACYA, Architect Rida Razak from Malaysia, and the representative of ACYA alumni, Architect Mikako Oshima-san from Japan. A gentle reminder that today's session is being recorded to be available for viewing after webinar. If you have any questions for the speaker, please use the chat box below. You can just type at any time during the session. However, we will hold most questions until the end of the session. This event is supported by Arcasia Committee of Young Architects, Indonesia Institute of Architects, Yogyakarta Chapter, and Yogyakarta Young Architects Forum, and powered by Extalia Hobbies. Okay, let's start. First of all, welcome our sponsor, Architect Desta from Indonesia. Desta, you there?
Yeah, hi, Yile. Thank you so much.
Yeah, stop sharing.
Moderator, because otherwise I will do 6 times in a row. Okay.
You need to chill a bit, lah.
I think so. So thank you so much also for everybody who is coming, both in the Zoom or in the Facebook. Because actually we received around 280 something. So many things. So thank you again for your enthusiasm. Just a bit, Yile said about sponsor. So I never do this, but I just want to let you know what is Extalia Hobbies, because we always put our logo there. So yeah, I'm not going too long, just a bit about information about Extalia Hobbies. Actually, we are the wholesaler and retailer for action figures, mostly the collectibles, yeah, so not the kids' toys. For Japanese characters and as well as the Western characters. And we can say that we are one of the lowest price retailers in Indonesia. We make sure that all our products are original also, and we are also official partner of Good Smile Company, one of the biggest figurine manufacturer in Japan. We offer products from some brands such as the Good Smile Company and the Kotobukiya, Extreme, Hot Toys, Bandai Gunpla, Ichiban Fuji, Brand Presto, Sega, Taito, FNEX, and other things like. And our stores, both online and offline, is based in Indonesia, Yogyakarta City. But for you who are living in Singapore and Malaysia, actually you can find us on Shopee. Just simply type Extalia, so extalia.sg and extalia.my. Our physical store located in Jogja. But we can deliver items to all the regions in Indonesia as well as Singapore and Malaysia. So before COVID, we also actively held some events like this. So I hope, yeah, the pandemic will be over soon, because I think a lot of people also miss this kind of crowds. It was so amazing. So other than figures, we also offer some Japanese merchandises, cosplay, etc. If you are interested, please kindly visit our website on www.extaliahobbies.com or our Instagram at extalia_hobbies. So this might be not 100% related actually to the sustainability, yes, but we want to support the movement of the sustainability, because we realize that this will be very important for our future. So again, thank you. so much for all the participants, especially for the speakers as well, moderators, and all the governor, to make this event is really happening. So I'm also looking forward for YangYang's presentation today and the discussion later. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Yile. I pass back to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Desta. Okay, let's move in. We are very happy that architect Mikako, the representative of ACYA alumni, can join us today and give an opening speech for us. Hello, Mikako. Hi. Cannot hear you. Cannot hear you.
Hello, can you hear me
Hello,
now?
hello. Yes, yes, yes. I'll pass to you.
Okay. Hello. Share my screen. So thank you for, hi everyone. Thank you for coming today, joining this afternoon. And thank you, Desta from Extalia and YYAF. Also, my friend, leader, and Bisma from ACYA for putting this series together. I'm happy to join and give a speech this morning. So now this is happening right now in the world, in the climate change, all this disaster, and we all know that. So I'm not going to go into this thing today. And also the very clear goal has been set by United Nations, and especially I would like to highlight this, the goal 11th is talking about the sustainability. So now the two keywords, sustainable, and then nowadays carbon neutral is the two keywords in architecture. So now the sustainability or sustainable architecture becoming a responsibility as a citizen of planet. And let's look at the architecture when we are designing a building. In about 10 years ago, or let's say like 15 years ago, green building or sustainable architecture was just a trend. This is from 1995. This is 1910, like green walls ideas, green roof ideas, and also using natural ventilations in the industrial building, and some more sustainable architecture concept. And this age has been already shifted quickly. And now the sustainability or sustainable architecture become mandatory for architects. For instance, from April 2021 this year in Japan, a new building more than 300 square meters required to meet a Building Energy Efficiency Act. 300 square meters. That's almost every building we design. So now the sustainability or sustainable architecture become an option, not an option anymore, and becoming a mandatory. Maybe in your country it's not the requirement yet, but it should be and it must be. And if there's no requirement in your country, you, the next leader of the young architect, should be the one to push this act moving forward. You're gonna be the one. So let's look at the certification requirement in the world. And now a lot of requirement is, or certification is there. For example, LEED or Green Star or Green SIP is very popular. And then one study operated by LEED is saying that green building and employees who works in the LEED satisfied green building makes people happier, healthier, and more productive. Also, 95% of the people who works in the LEED satisfied building, they are satisfied on their job. Also, more than 50% said they are very satisfied with the building, with the job. Also, another study shows that 85% of people said that access to the quality outdoor views or natural sunlight boost more their job, more productive and happier. So a green building basically makes people happier. So that means the green building makes the space a good architecture. So what that means, the good architecture leads you to becoming a good architect, right? So the why sustainable for architecture? The answer is to become a good architect. Thank you.
Thank you, Mikako. It's really impressive. And it's really straightforward to become a good architect.
Yes,
Yes,
for
it's
young
true,
people,
it's true.
it's the first way to be a good architect, to do a sustainable architecture. Very
yes,
simple.
of course. Yes. Thank you, Mikako. So, okay, so can you stop sharing? I will. Yes, thank you. Okay, so let's move to our main part today. Before start, please allow me to introduce myself. I'm Zhang Yile from China. I did a dual course in University of Sheffield in UK and Sichuan University in China. Then I have a 1-year gap for working. Now I'm a student majoring in integrated sustainable design in National University of Singapore. Also, me and some of my other friends, we have a small studio called MYDY Architects. Bottom right is a barcode of our Instagram and WeChat 公众号. And warmly welcome everyone to follow us. We are keep growing now. It's also my honor to be moderator today. Thank you very much, everyone. Okay. We are very happy also to invite today's speaker, YangYang, a great urban designer and landscape designer from China. He is also a master of integrated sustainable design in the National University of Singapore. YangYang, I will pass to you. You there? I will stop sharing now.
Thank you, Yile.
Hi.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is YangYang. 大家好，我叫YangYang. Today I'm going to talk about something about sustainable and aesthetic and what it will happen together. So maybe let me share my screen. Okay, can you see it? All right. So today I'm going to talk about 4 parts. One is that I will introduce the Chinese situation, the rate urbanization, and then I will briefly talk about the sustainable, what is it and how it can impact our design. And then I will talk about aesthetic. Aesthetic is I think this 2 parts is a very huge topic. So maybe I just share what I'm thinking. And then maybe I will going to combine the 2 topics and then discuss with each guy. And okay. So the first part, I will introduce the Chinese situation. You know, this 4 city in China is the big city, but you look at it quite similar. So the truth is that after 4 decades of opening up, China has made a huge economic achievement. And however, with the case of urbanization, some of the largest cities in China have become more and more similar. In the process of urban renewal, similar problems have also appeared, such as traffic problem, heat island, pollution, over energy consumption, and so on. I think this situation is appear in other countries. And so at this stage, the Chinese government has put forward the goal of carbon neutrality, which is to achieve the sustainable, healthy development. This is a great goal, but it's also a huge challenge based on this complex, uncertain faced by cities. I think many designers have begun to think about it. So now I'm talking about why it's sustainable. I believe that everyone has already understood the concept of sustainable. It's development that can meet the needs of contemporary people without destroy the ability of future generations to meet their needs. It includes many areas such as policy, economy, and law, etc. What we are going to discuss in this afternoon is about sustainable design. So, sustainable design is an overall system that including urban public space, something like this, and include the urban water circulation and urban ecology system. And also urban agriculture and sustainable renewable energy like a passive design. They work together to affect our living environment and quality. So regarding our current living environment, people may think that due to the rapid development of social tourism such as Facebook and WeChat, as well as the highway and other facilities, the world we live is more connected than ever. But however, it's not. Many studies have shown that compared with the past, under the background of rapid urbanization, people are not only separate from the nature, but also separate between the neighborhoods. In cities, roads connect the residential and the urban. A developed logistic network make it possible to quickly enjoying products from all over the world in a city. And what's more, the 5G network can connect people from different places in real time. We have created a closely connected world, but we think that this connection is fragile. The circulation of water, nutrition, food, and energy has been broken. At the same time, the connect between the air, water, soils, species, and human have also been disturbed. So, of course, there are many aspects that can impact our living environment. And today we are going to discuss about the relationship between aesthetic and sustainability. We will use Chinese background to discuss whether the aesthetic can have a positive impact on our sustainable design. And first of all, we need to understand what is aesthetic or what is Chinese aesthetic. For urban designer or architects, aesthetic is the product of the combination of human and nature. Not just beautiful, but also people's spiritual needs. China used to be an agricultural country, so rice field, tea gardens, vegetable garden, fish pond, and even people's house are all follow the culture formed by the Chinese in order to adapt to nature. So due to the different material provided by different climate and geographical conditions, we have developed many methods which are compatible with natural condition, and then incorporate emotions, values, and aesthetic. Okay. So what we talk about is that it has formed a culture with the regional characteristic. As we can say, a professor at Peking University in China, they are the art of survival, not just the designer landscape, or buildings. This style and features of those buildings or landscape are also the elements for people to know themselves, their population and their nations. And aesthetic is that people give cultural means to their environment based on knowledge, values, and behaviors, and they in turn affect people's behavior. So by studying the medium of the culture or aesthetic between people and the environment, we can better understand the interaction between both of them. We can see this picture is a traditional Chinese drawing. It's very, we can very clear to see that the nature and then the human, the relationship. So we can, let's see this. So for this picture, is drawn by the 1,000 years ago. This is the drawing with the mountain and the water, nature, and then actually there's the building here. So we think that if we divide in the middle, separate with the two parts, those picture is separate with the top view is that sorry, is there any voice?
Okay. No, sorry. Yeah.
Sorry,
Okay.
can I ask everyone to mute yourself, please? Thank you. Thank you.
It's okay. So for this picture, we can see this landscape or this view is not appear in our daily life, but there we are feel very familiar with them. It feel very nature. So the top part is the imagination, and then the close part is the real world. So why is this? Why this happen? Because it's like the Wang Shu say that in previous the people have a trip in the mountain into the nature, and maybe they cost 3 days trip, and then they go back to home to record what happened in past 3 days. So they join their imagination with the mountain and the water, and then they will join down the real landscape, the real trees in close part. So that's why this picture have the full system there, maybe the mountain, the river and traffic system, and also the building in the mountains. So if this is the understanding, the people's understanding Chinese aesthetic of the people with nature. So if those elements can show on the picture, and I think it will be shown on the buildings. Now this case is about the campus of the Chinese Academy of Arts and designed by Wang Shu. And it also follows this concept. The building uses a lot of material from the countryside and follow the layout of traditional Chinese courtyard. Those highlight the traditional Chinese aesthetic image. So for this part, compare with those photos, we can see after more than 10 years of changes, the building has been combined with nature very well. So this part, I'm going to talk about Dongang Wetland Park, which is designed by Yu Kongjian. This project learning traditional Chinese farmland and fish pond. It constructed the flood detention wetlands, restore the regional ecosystem, promote the spacious devices diversity, and respond to the concept of sponge city. And at the same time, it also brings the most familiar landscape to the residents of the site, making them thinking that this site is not a new design, but it should be look like this. So in the above case, we learning that traditional Chinese aesthetic can provide a better cultural identity for region and realize a healthy and sustainable design. So if aesthetic can facilitate people's sense of identity with the place, and it can help designers to improve sustainable design with their idea. And why is that? Sustainable can constitute a philosophic, psychological, or personal perception. People's understanding of place means that people establish emotional connect with the place where they are happy to stay and make them feel comfortable and safe. The cultural identity generated by the aesthetic can strengthen the connect between people and the environment. We know that people's feeling about the environment are mainly obtained through two parts. The first is the human sense, the common sense. People obtain the perception of the outside world through their body, which include the sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch. And the second is the memory of the past, of their past experience. So this is why we say that the building or the space is the character to the people's memory. It will focus on the feeling within the central period of time. So when facing or feeling a familiar environment, the environment will trigger people's memory. So we know that aesthetic is based on the attributes of space, such as color, size, distance, and the feeling of the place. And those feelings trigger us for the place. But however, aesthetic are dynamic and difficult to be defined. It doesn't always emphasize positive emotions. It also includes negative feeling about the environment. And if people have experience in one place, those places has unique means to them. Everyone has their own life experience, and people will attach their personal color to this place. Because people have different experience and behavior, different individuals will have different feeling about the same place. They usually greatly affect the interaction between the user and the environment. As the time passing, this place will form an aesthetic and cultural memory. Furthermore, people will change the place to better meet their need of their daily activities, and it will facilitate the growth and the development of the architectural and landscape forms in this place. During this process, the physical and memory level will be improved to better meet people's needs and establish a better interaction between them. Then facilitate people to build their aesthetic understanding. A systemic cycle is formed. Those are about how aesthetic affect the form of the site. So we are talking about how to combine. Through the above case, we are learning how aesthetic affect design. As we discussed before, the processing of modern urban design due to the impact of the rapid globalization, a large number of local cultural identities and aesthetic are disappearing, which also make all cities look so similar. That is why China was rapidly eroding their local characteristics, and then a large amount of successful urban design experience from the West has been copied to Chinese city. Aesthetic can be controlled and guided. It will be evolved over time. In general, new aesthetic in the interaction between human and the environment. What's more, the awareness of the public and popular culture can be controlled and guided. So combining sustainable and local aesthetic can help us avoid the negative development. We can promote a positive aesthetic direction, which will give birth to new aesthetic standard and design. We talk about aesthetic, then we need to understand what is beautiful or what is the better aesthetic. We believe that the real beauty should be healthy, not copy symbols or directly copy the design of their cities. So this picture, we can see many ancient city rebuild projects retain the traditional style of the facade, but not consider the reasonable of the materials and graphics. Just simply decorating the facade. Those often result in a high construction cost and high maintenance costs. So we know that the human. So this picture shows that we think that a lot of part can impact the sustainable design, and which part can. So we can choose the part which can easily control. So aesthetic is this part. If we thinking, this is a picture that in Tang Dynasty, Chinese people treat the fat girl as the beauty. So this means that it can inspire us that we can control or guide people to another aesthetic. Okay. We think that the harmonious coexisting of human and nature is the foundation of healthy aesthetic. A city based on this is sustainable and active. This is the coexisting relationship, means that we use the fewer energies, materials, and manpower to build a beautiful environment. So, for example, this picture shows the typical Chinese southeast Chinese country, and the new building respond to the previous aesthetic and build the layout the new form. Another thinking is that the local pen spaces are adapt to the beauty of nature, no high cost artificial direction. There can be more people walking or cycling on the street instead of being filled with cars. Building can reduce the use of air conditioning, and the roof can be more greenery, rainwater can be collected, and garbage can be recycled. The city is the carrier of the human civilization and the balance between the human desert and natural forest. So today's entertainment industry and consumption, as well as the wasteful life and production methods, are not truly healthy aesthetic if we talk about the sustainable development. So back to our background. The concept of the green building and the sponge city have been developed in China for many years under the background of the carbon neutral goals, or our city buildings or landscape need to adapt the new requirements. Those cases shows the Chinese traditional typical aesthetic from the drawing to the real project. It's done by a Chinese famous architect. So this form, we can see that it's very well respond to the layout, to the nature, and to the traditional local materials. And based on the above sharing, we believe that the aesthetic based on sustainability should have some characteristics. So first of all, we need to pay attention to localization. We can consider regionally more and integrate local elements such as climate, landform, and essentially the local material to the design. And secondly, it should be the lightweight. Buildings or landscapes should reduce the high maintenance cost of decoration. The third is the regeneration. More existing building or site can adapt reused, such as transforming the industry plan into a creative space, or transforming mines into a landscape park. The fourth is that we need to leave space because today's technology updates are accelerating, and we try to leave room for new device in our design. For example, a passive design combined with solar PV will come true nowadays. So finally, we think that policies, regulations, and aesthetic can limit humans' behavior. With today's global climate change, water problem, declining in biodiversity, and even overall energy consumption, food crisis, all of which impact human beings and their living environment. But we use environmental and ecological values such as the ecological aesthetic to influence everyone and every region. At least it can let us realize that we can use the local wheat as beautiful instead of introducing expensive flowers. That's what I'm thinking about the relationship between the sustainable and aesthetic. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, YangYang. Thank you. Yes, it's really nice, and your idea, your thinking is quite deep and very impressive. I remember you firstly talk about the background of sustainable design. I keep some notes in China and why we need sustainable design in current time, right? Then you list some typical symbols of Chinese traditional aesthetics. And the interesting examples I remember is the Chinese drawing, the mountains, close mountain, the mountain far away, and what's that meaning? And also the beautiful fat girl in Tang Dynasty in China, which is quite interesting, that one. And you also talk about how we can combine the sustainability and aesthetic together. It quite impressed me that you say people's personal aesthetic can be affected by outside environment and by the people, by designer, by architecture, by the surrounding. So through our landscape and architecture design, as designer, we can intentionally guide people's aesthetic to be more sustainable way. This is a very fresh, new thinking. I think it's about how we can trigger people to think and also behave more sustainably. Yeah, it's really a nice talk, and I have to say I learned a lot from what you are talking.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, and I want to remind for you who are attending our Zoom meeting, we have put the Google form. Desta, please. We have put the Google form link for the e-certificate. So please fill it out and later you can download it from the same website where you did the registration, and we will process it in 1 to 2 weeks, then you can get it. Okay, so I would like to invite some of you to have a discussion. Desta, is there any points YangYang talk quite impress you?
Well, I think new things. I mean, like because 3 of us went to the same programs, actually the sustainability, but we took it in Singapore. And Singapore is actually, mix of many cultures. Not really. We have 60% of Chinese, and then Malay, and then the Indian and others. So I think it's like very mixed. So I ain't never seen any like a very Chinese, for example, Chinese aesthetics in terms of the architecture. Like what we found is the shop houses and other things. And nowadays in Singapore, I think the sustainability, of course, Singapore is one of the leading country in sustainable architecture, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so I just want to know that maybe in YangYang perspective, yeah, because YangYang also the program in Singapore, and now he's working in one of the big architecture firm in China. So from your point of view, in terms of the sustainability and the aesthetics, combining those two, do you have any points or any comments or something between China and Singapore? Maybe they have a different style or something.
Yeah, I think Singapore is does very well in sustainability, but compared with the two situations, I think it's a lot of things impact the relationship, because Singapore have a shorter history than China. So when Singaporean see the nature, see the mountain, see the waterfall, then they just take it directly into their design, their building. So what they are feeling that it will be very familiar, very comfortable. But in China, just my personally thinking, in China have a very long history. So when people see the nature, they have a medium, because not just the nature directly, they will thinking about the how to say it. In China we call it 诗意. It means that the sense of the poetry. So when they transfer to the language, to their building, to their landscape, so it will appear a different shape or a different cultural, I think.
And then like in China itself, I know that the development, as you mentioned before at the beginning, like super fast. I think one of the fastest in the world. Because last time I went to Shenzhen, but now I saw the pictures of Shenzhen is very, very different from last time I went there. So it's like, and it's really totally different. Unlike when I went to, for example, I went to Singapore maybe 1 decade ago. And we compare with now, of course, there are some differences, but actually not so much. It's not really changed. Even Japan, for example, I think, but not drastically changed. And China is so amazing in terms of the development. So do you think that, I just want to know, because I don't know, in China, I just heard that a lot of regulation is coming from the top down. Top-down regulations. Unlike, for example, in Indonesia, I don't know, maybe a lot of also bottom-up.
Yes, I think this is the big difference. So the past 4 decades or 3 decades, the Chinese urbanization is very fast. This is that period appeared because we need economy, we need to grow up. So it's reasonable at that time. But now stage, the population growth and then the urbanization with the new stage. We mentioned the Chinese government mentioned the new requirement. So sorry, what your another question? I forgot it.
Yeah, like
I think she's asking, like in China we always have top down
policy.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's quite different from some other countries.
Okay, so that's why I'm thinking the aesthetic can impact a lot because the sustainable to design to make this area quite different. It may be impacted by a lot of things, a lot of area, the policy, the law, the financial. But I think because community engagement in the future will be appear and in China will be more and more popular. Not the top down. So that's why if we impact the public to let them know the green building is beautiful, then their voice will be heard, will be known. So I think this part we can impact. At least can impact the designer to do the building, not just hearing from the top down, but hearing from the generation, I think.
So you still think that actually not only top down is not perfect also, but bottom up is somehow needed, is it?
Yeah, in future it will combine together, and then I think it will be more and more more popular in the future.
I see.
Yeah.
I think interesting.
Yeah, I think from Malaysia perspective or Asian perspective, is there any request or wishes you have to architects as an urban designer? Because you're urban designer and landscape designer, right? Is there any requests or wishes you want to say to others?
Actually, I'm still learning from the daily project. So what I'm thinking is that from the architect, sometimes before I think in the architect so showing their what they are idea, they are very wonderful. But I think we need to consider the relationship between the building and urban. So if we are building just put into the urban, it will be a system. It will be just the role of this area. Not just every every building is the landmark. This is a different period. We not just need a green building. We hope we need the green urban. So what I think is that we should have a system thinking to knowing better the sustainable system, and then we can better know what the role of the building or what the role of the landscape, the park will be done in the future.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. I want to remind everyone that if you want to raise your questions, you can just turn on your camera and talk directly to us. Or if you're a bit shy, you can just text your questions in your chat box. In the chat box, I think we will select some of them, then we have a discussion together. Okay, can I invite Mikako? Mikako, are you there?
Oh, Pak Teddy is here. Hello, Pak Teddy. Oh, Pak Teddy, Yile, Pak Teddy. Yile,
oh, hi.
Join us, always support us from the very beginning.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you.
Pak Teddy still muted. The unmute, Pak.
Yeah, cannot hear you.
Okay, sorry.
You can speak Chinese,
sorry.
Pak.
Nice to see you all.
Can speak Chinese.
Oh, really?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, Desta. Because my English not so good, yeah.
Okay.
But
it's
I want to
okay,
talk. Yeah. So I need your guide, yeah. If I have difficulty, okay.
All right.
Oh, you can use Chinese also, Mandarin. We understand.
And not Indonesian language. I come from Indonesia.
Okay.
I'm still a young architect too, yeah. Just kidding.
In mind.
Yeah, in mind.
Just kidding. I want to ask a question, yeah, that's make me confused for this year's, yeah. Can I ask about this question?
Yes, sure.
Can, yeah?
Yes.
Of course.
Since I know, yeah, China is a very rich country and many famous building, yeah, very prestigious building built in China recently, yeah. Example, the Peking Airport, but designed by foreigner. Yeah, also in Shenzhen and other place. Yeah, much of the prestigious building or project, yeah, handled by foreigner. That's a question for me. Yeah, why so? I don't understand. Yeah, because architect, yeah, is a chance. Yeah, you in China have many chance. Yeah? Why your senior architect in China cannot be
Cannot be the architect ya Pak? Why
no, saya maksudkan jadi expert, cannot be expert, ya, for handle the prestigious design itself. Yeah, that's a big question for me. Yeah, like recently Peking Airport designed by Zaha Hadid, yeah, from India. Yeah, and much
From UK.
Is it UK?
UK.
UK, from UK. Yeah. Yeah, Zaha is from UK.
In 1970, yeah, when I studied in architecture, yeah, one of the Chinese architects, very famous, designed Bank of China at Singapore. Who's the name? Don't you know? Yi Mingpei. Yi Mingpei.
Yeah.
But
The one
nation
in Paris.
of US.
The pyramid.
US nation. Yeah. Chinese but US nation. And I didn't hear a famous architect, yeah, from China. For me, yeah, architecture is a chance. If you have many chance, you can learn much from it. How China architect, yeah, cannot be expert? That's my question. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And I think for your questions in China, because China is quite a big country, actually, we got a lot of excellent building, excellent architecture design, landscape design by Chinese people. But maybe because the social media, we don't advertise them, so people don't know that. And I know many famous Chinese architects actually now is growing. The group is growing because I think previously China has a period of a tough time, I think. So we actually lack resources in both education and also maybe architecture design education. So that's why in that time we may not have many as good as the architects in other countries. But I think we are growing. We are the new generation. So I think you can look at us and to see whether in this generation, Chinese architects can be really experts and can also work well with other countries, other people in other countries. Thank you, because I'm so young.
I have a different idea. Since I don't know, yeah, who is the Chinese architect recently famous in the world? I have never heard.
There's one who won the Pritzker some years ago, no?
This time, Pak Teddy, this time I do not agree with you because we have so many Chinese architects so famous today, because we just finished the YYA conference, big conference, the biggest conference maybe in architecture, and about 25% of the speaker were Chinese architects. So amazing! Their work is so amazing. I can mention some of them. They called Factor Architect. The architect name Gong Dong. If I'm not wrong, if I'm misspelling, please YangYang correct me. And the second one, I know that Lyndon Neri and Rosanna Hu, if I'm not wrong, Neri and Hu, architect. They built some architecture in Malaysia also, and the work is very, very good. And I think maybe some other, and I believe they are a young generation of Chinese architect and very, very good. I do adore a Chinese architect today. That's my opinion, Pak Teddy.
Okay, Daddy, yeah. I don't think so, yeah.
What about Indonesia?
My question is, yeah, why the prestigious project like Peking Airport, yeah, not designed by Chinese itself? That's the question. Yeah?
Actually,
Project and prestigious project, I know, yeah, very much the architect from foreigner, especially from USA and UK and Europe.
So for my understanding, that some of the huge projects like the Peking Airport or a lot of building in Shenzhen, everyone knows, designed by foreigners. And that's because some of Chinese architects, they once learning from the West. But it's right that China has the huge chance, huge opportunity for architects, not only in the big city, because through the social media, we know the big city appear a lot of new buildings, but China has the very huge land. Lots of them are still countryside. So actually, now stage, lots of young architect or landscape designer, they work on the countryside to try their local material or try their local thinking combined with what they're learning in the campus. I think this is the opportunity for the young architect in the rural area. But for the national big project, it should be done by it's a controversial issues because you say that China's very famous architect is his name is Wang Shu, is one of the prize, the first Chinese, and Chinese have the and have Zhang Yonghe and other Ma Yanzong, a lot of famous architects, but their concept is quite different. Even though they were focused on how to build up the Chinese system of architect, because the Chinese have lots of heritage, but no one in past few decades, no one can combine them. So now is the stage that everyone will announce it will be appear in the future, and with the now stage the policy, the carbon, the green building, sponsorship, anything. I think a lot of voice are appearing. That's why I'm thinking.
Maybe I can speak, Desta.
Yeah,
according to my opinion, architecture must be same, in knowledge, basic knowledge of architect, same in the world, That I said, only because of chance, like us in Indonesia, we are underdeveloped country. No big project or prestigious project
the new
built in
capital
Indonesia. Huh?
Capital. Jakarta moved to Kalimantan. New capital.
That's
project.
one. Yeah, that's one. But not realization. Yeah. So I said, yeah, architect, yeah, is about chance. Yeah. If you have chance, many chance in China. China is a rich country. Yeah. Many have much money. Yeah. That's my question. Do you understand?
Yeah. I think I got what you mean. Like, I think because usually the contractor, they will announce a project, they will have a bid. So I think many architects or studio from all over the world, they will have a competition for win the bid. I think maybe for some reason there's some the government have their own thought, because some really big policy project like airport or some government building, it's quite controlled by government. So maybe they have some thought in the past, but actually now the situation is changing. Maybe you don't know, but yeah, it's changing now.
I hope
Government,
so. Huh?
yeah, Chinese government
hope
actually
so.
quite encourage local architects to get their ideas to join the design. And I know there's one new airport in Chengdu. I don't know whether you know that. It's quite a international new airport, and Chengdu is also a very big city, a new growing city. And that airport is done by Chinese architects, and it's really amazing. It's called Chengdu Tianfu Airport.
I know it.
Yeah. That one.
It.
Yes. So I think the policy and also people's thinking now is
That's
changing.
good news for me.
Yeah.
Good news for me. Okay.
But Teddy, I think you just need to wait, because maybe in 10 years, YangYang and Yile will get the Pritzker Prize.
Oh my God.
Right? So
Oh my God, don't expect too high.
I know YangYang before. Desta.
Yeah.
I know YangYang before, a famous badminton champion from China. YangYang in 1980 maybe. Yeah.
Oh my God, another YangYang.
YangYang, you haven't
That's a lot of
word yet.
YangYang, famous one from China. Yeah. I hope in the future, yeah, China architect will be like YangYang, famous in the world.
Yes.
Thank
you.
That's all.
Thank you, Pak Teddy.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I have a question for this three young architects.
Yes.
So
Yes, Mikako,
now
please.
he's talking about the working in domestic environment, right?
Mm.
And now I have a question for you guys, because in our office we sometimes work on a project in abroad, like Indonesia, China, Vietnam, and these countries. Then based on today's lecture, how do you gonna apply this cultural background or aesthetics that you have learned in your country to the project, let's say India, for example? How do you do that? Or how would you like to work on it?
Chinese building in India.
No.
I'm kidding. Maybe Yile or YangYang can.
YangYang, please.
I think aesthetic is very uncenter, unclear concept. So everybody have their own aesthetic. So no matter Indian or Malaysia or China, we think that their aesthetic should be the healthy way, should be the sustainable way. This sustainable way based on the local condition, based on the green technique, based on the better planner. So I think now is actually a lot of chance for architect. We can do a lot of things, and we can also impact the public aesthetic through by the other design, through by the social media, through by the any other ways. And then I think it will be a better influence for this area.
I want to add something, maybe in terms of Indonesian architecture. What I'm thinking, maybe similar to YangYang, because for me, aesthetic is not only about the how we look at the building, how we look like for example, of course Chinese architecture will be different with the Indonesian architecture. I mean, in the traditional building looks, but the aesthetic here is actually how our actors, how those people are did in the past in terms of doing the construction. They always have their own ways to do the building, right? And then we can learn a lot from it. And actually, for example, I never got any projects outside Indonesia, honestly, but
Yet.
maybe yes. But maybe if I get what I will put on the design, of course, for example, I will have a project in China. I will not put the Indonesian style in China, of course not. But what I can get is maybe I have something from the Indonesian traditional building, which actually it based on their whys, it support the sustainability, how they do about the techniques and other things. So I think that kind of aesthetic which can be implied and applied on the project outside. And of course, for me, thinking about the environment will always be important. Like for example, we do projects, for example, in Singapore. Maybe Singapore is not really very thick on the culture, but it will be different in Indonesia, in Japan, maybe, and in China, because the culture is very, very strong, and it happened a very, very long time. Means, like I remember what Subasa said last sessions, like when we design a building, the building should also can be, loved by the people around. So means that we need to also see what happened around the site itself. And then in terms of aesthetic, of course, the very important thing is the ways how to build and how the strategy is implemented on the building when we do the design and also the construction. So I think that's what I'm thinking. So it's not about the looks, it's more about the ways. Yile, you have any thoughts?
Very good. Yes. Now it's your turn.
Yeah,
Your turn.
I think back to Mikako's questions. If I have a project abroad,
You
maybe
have
in
already.
India or
You
yeah,
already have.
yeah, Indonesia. Yes. I think the things I learned from Chinese culture is actually respect the nature. Actually, Asian Chinese culture is very, very respect the nature. I think you all know feng shui, right? Like the feng shui culture. That one is actually the conclusion. It's not magic. It's real down to the earth. It's uh, it's about like how we make better use of the landform, the local materials, and the climate, and that's a conclusion of all those things. But Asian Chinese people, because they don't know some science knowledge, so they just generation by generation by generation they conclude like that. So I think that's quite reasonable, and it's also show our big respect, Chinese people big respect to nature. So I think if I have a project, let's say no matter wherever in the world, I think the first thing is to respect the local culture, respect the nature, and let's make the maximum use of the local materials, and we can create a really good interaction between the architecture, the landscape, between nature, between human. Yeah, I think that's my personal thought.
Very good. Because often the client would ask,
That's
like,
correct.
yes, why
Correct
why
answer.
are they choosing you, you know?
Mm.
Because
That's a
sometimes they expect you to bring something from your own country. So you have
Yes.
like probably 2 more years to think about
Actually,
Only two, you know.
only actually, honestly, what happened in the real project is client is controlling most of the things, of course.
Yes, that's a problem.
Sometimes, so what I always try, of course my experience is not as that much, but what I always did is I will always prepare any you know, every lines or every elements that I draw on the drawings should have a reasons behind that.
Definitely.
Otherwise, when they ask, we cannot answer, and they think that this is not make sense. Of course, for example, one of the Chinese billionaire maybe hired me to build something in Indonesia, and then asked, please build a very Chinese building. As an architect, if I just take it from the, you know, like a warehouse, 3D warehouse, I think it's much faster and very easy. But that's not the point. And then how to convince the clients? Of course, this is not easy. I cannot tell that this is very easy. But we have to really do our best to really convince the client that this is not the right way to do that. Because of this, because of that, because of this.
Desta,
Yeah, Pak.
can I answer your question now? Because you are a young architect, not yet famous.
Not yet.
Be a famous architect, different answer.
Maybe
That's the
Danny can answer this question.
Danny famous architect, Pak. Danny in the field, in the site.
Danny on the side, he cannot join.
I think so. Hi, Danny.
It's
I can hear you, but I'm driving. No, actually,
Always driving.
no, actually, what Pa Teddy said is quite right, almost right lah. But you know, in the very beginning of my career, I was controlled by clients. That's true. But now, since several years, I can choose my own client. I have privilege on that. So I filter my client. If they tending to control me, I make my fee higher.
Hey, Danny, tell me some clients that you reject lah.
maybe Desta can take over.
Yeah. But not in every project. Some client pretend to be a bunny, a beautiful client, a cute client in the very beginning, but in the end they can be a monster. Some clients do like that, so we cannot control anything. The thing is, I think architecture is about communication. The more you experience on that, the more you can control your client with the very humble communication. Even the drawing, the words we say, and everything. So the thing is, yeah, experience say a lot. I agree with Pak Teddy, but not 100% agree with him.
What? Why not 100%?
Because even I talk to, let's say, Andra Martin, even I said to I talk with Budi Pradono, some famous Indonesian architect.
Yeah, very
They are have to accommodate some clients' brief, some you know, weird clients their brief. Yeah, let's say like I want the kitchen like that, and the worst thing that they have to accommodate is what Yile said before, feng shui.
Even that happened to me as well.
Some requirement of feng shui is not easily accepted by our logic thinking.
Yeah.
But as an architect, we have to accommodate that requirement from the client, and yeah, we cannot say anything because if we against them, then the client is not very comfortable to live in the house, let's say, and the house is not sustainable again because the owner itself is not enjoying to live in it. So I think that's my question to Pak Teddy.
Jadi maybe that is a small project, you say.
Yes.
In a big project, I think different.
For example, Pak Teddy, you know Taman Anggrek in Jakarta, right?
Mall.
Yeah,
Mall Taman
I
Anggrek
know
in
it.
Jakarta.
Yeah.
Mall Taman Anggrek in Jakarta, the architect not designed for small fountain in the entrance of the building.
Oh yes, yes.
And then the Feng Shui master coming, and the Feng Shui master said, you have crossing bridge in front of the building, and the crossing bridge will bring you a bad chi, bad energy. So you have to counter that with the fountain on the entrance of your building. So the architect should think more about that, and they make a fountain in front. That's one, even you are good, but you have to controlled by the feng shui that the client said. I
Because
think
they have the
that's
money.
my answer. They
Okay,
have the
I
money,
agree.
but
Yeah, one thing is not controlling the client or controlling the project. I think you have to work with the client. That's
yes.
probably the answer.
But I think the one interesting that Daddy said about the experience. Pak Daddy, why I chose architect rather than to become the artist? Because artist you will very famous when you young, but architect you become older you will be more famous, Pak. So you have a white hair, you will be more famous. Everybody will listen to you.
But Desta, I'm very happy because today two Chinese architect is
Sorry.
Cannot hear now.
Cannot
He's in
hear.
underground now.
Underground.
Underground, yes.
I think so. Maybe we can ask him later again.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
hi Danny. Danny, we cannot hear you. It's
The
very
data
breaking.
is not good. Yeah.
One question more, Ken. Desta,
Yes, Pak.
one
Yes.
more question.
Okay.
All of you, yeah, are you enjoy being an architect?
YangYang, you answer.
I think
YangYang, you. After you.
I think when I in campus, I discussed this question with my classmates. Most of them say that I don't want to be the architect because a lot of work overtime working, but finally they still do the architectural design. So I think this is a very controversial issue. Whether we not giving up or continue to do our job. I think the interesting thing is that being an architect, you are designing something, and when you experience is growing, when you done a lot of things, your design will be improved. That may make us enjoy this area. So even though Chinese architect or Chinese designer are very hard work, but they are still focused on this area. So I think the answer is that most of them were enjoying this area, even though it's very difficult. Yeah, this is my answer.
Good to
School
hear.
of Architecture, Desta.
Yeah, Pak.
Why don't you ask me? How about you? Do you enjoy being an architect?
Pak Teddy, I know that you are not only architect, you also a big businessman. That's why I didn't ask you.
I want to talk about architect basic knowledge. Yeah, it's very useful for everything, every job. If you do business, yeah, you can analyze it very well. Since we are in school, always every day talking about analysis. It's very useful for your work. No matter what your work, yeah, businessman, merchant, and so on, and extra. It's very useful.
Yeah.
So I've never upset being an architect,
Oh.
even in a small town.
Cool, Pak.
Okay, that's I want to say to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pak
Thank
Teddy. Impressive. Oh, Danny is there. He should continue what he said before. Hi, Danny.
I think he's using data to connect.
Okay.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah, I asked before how the correlation in feng shui knowledge in your education of architecture, because here mostly all the feng shui master were Chinese, and I don't know in the mainland, in the Republic of China, is there any special subject in feng shui knowledge? I asking to both of you, my friend Chinese architects.
So for the feng shui, I think is that in previous Chinese, some people don't know what it happened. Then they conclude with the feng shui, such as the those window couldn't have put here. But for today's, this is my personally understanding. For today's technique, we know that if the window, for example, put here, it can be better ventilation. So they call it feng shui. I think it is based on the reasonable reason why the building should put here, why the door should be there. This is something like that. But the other thing, I think this area, the feng shui area, still is not fully been answered. It still have something we don't know. So maybe we just call it it's feng shui. And if there's something happen, we unknow it. We call it it's the better feng shui here or bad feng shui there. So I think this will be answered in future with the technique development. That's what I think.
Is there any not major course or something in school?
Feng shui. Actually, I think in university
so.
we have, right? Elective. I think we have elective courses about feng shui. Yes. And also because I have 2 years university learning in China in landscape architecture. Actually, when we have studio design, our tutor usually will also consider and suggest us to read something about feng shui, because I think most Chinese people, let's see, most contractor or constructor or even governments, they or especially government, they're actually quite strength feng shui, I feel. And but the feng shui, their strength is not very simple. Like, okay, you cannot put mirror opposite to your door. It's more like, okay, the orientation of the building should be like how, like face to south or face to north, or the window should be open in this way or that way, or even the garden, should we have a water or should we have more plants, some mountains. I think it's all the all reason behind it's logical. I think like the orientation, we can see it will be impacted by ventilation, the building ventilation, natural ventilation, and even the light, the natural light, and also the garden design, the river, the plants, that all can affect the environment of the whole site. And it can have a better interaction with people actually. So it's not only solid materials there, but it's also combined some solid building but soft landscape together. So I think that's the feng shui our designers should be looking for, I think. Maybe not all feng shui is correct, because uh, some of them they conclude like a bit, how to say, not very practical. But some of the conclusion it's actually being checked or being already realized in the world. So I think some of the we can really looking forward when we want to design a building in China. Yeah, if you have a project in China, I think you better looking for feng shui.
But is it like, for example, you say about orientation, right? But nowadays, in terms of orientation, we will also use the computational measurements and other things, right, to have the models and then see how the
Yes.
wind and other things, the sun.
Yeah.
So this actually also have a big impact in terms of the orientations, which actually I don't know whether this will be a same answer with the feng shui or it will be different. Like feng shui said south, but the computational said north, for example. Just for example. So like, is this kind of thing happen? Do you know? Like maybe
I think it may happen. Yes, it can happen. I think so. So that's also we have some contract between client and the designer. That's why, because usually clients they only know feng shui in I think in it's not very professional way, professional architectural landscape designer way. So I think for us we need to persuade them. Yeah, that's our job. Also, back to the question, Desta, you talked before, the clients is usually will raise some questions or problems which we cannot really agree with. But I think our job is to use our professional knowledge and to persuade them. And I think for young generation of us, even though we are not professional designers, some of the people, but they still quite respect to the designer and they quite like to hear what's your profession, what's your thoughts, and they quite respect you. So I think, yeah, no worry.
all right.
I hear that in South Asia country, there's a lot of people trust the feng shui, right?
Yeah. In Indonesia, I think still a lot of people. And Singapore, of course, if you went to Suntec City, it's all based on.
Yeah, it's also Suntec City.
Suntec City with that mountain, it's not mountain, sorry, fountains in the middle. It's like a hand like this. This is the tower 1, 2, 3, 4, and then here the fountain. Yeah. Indonesia, I also
a bit curious about Japan, like Mikako. Like is you all, because I think Japan, some of the Japan building style and landscape style is to some degree a bit, we have some similar elements between China and Japan. I mean that one. So do you also have feng shui in traditional Japanese culture to design building and landscape, or you call it in another way?
Some up to some extent, yes. Especially when you design a house, people try to say something like, like put the bathroom on that side, or the entrance has to be on that side. Especially older generation, they like to follow that. But I think it's like our design condition. Like you have a site, like Corbusier said, more difficult site it is, the architecture could be more interesting, So we have to all like figure it out. Like, okay, one is the client requirement, one is the building code, one is like whatever the site gives us, one is the climate. So enjoy that all this condition. That's your like design challenge, That's what I would say to all the young architects. It's just confront this all the challenge and enjoy that challenge. Never the difficulty, but the challenge.
Thank you.
maybe later when we have the project, we can message Mikako. We had
yes,
client. How to do this? I'm kidding.
Sure. Yeah. Very good.
Yeah.
Of course, I think that's why, like Danny said, I'm very agree that actually architecture maybe it's about experience. So I always really happy to listen those who are senior, even though sometimes we don't have same thoughts or same same thoughts. Maybe I'm not agree with something, but it will experience will always very good. Always talks more, which actually as a young architect, I think we need to learn from the senior architects as well, because it's all about experience. The more experienced you are, then the wiser you are. Then, like Denny said, he even can choose the client. Oh, this
Wow.
again, you reject some clients, you can let me know lah.
Definitely.
Kidding,
Yes,
I'm
yes.
kidding. All right.
Cool.
Yeah. So I think I still have one more questions. I don't know whether
Oh,
this one already raised or not. I think it's about history, the city's history, because we talk about aesthetic, Chinese aesthetic, YangYang talk about that. And I think Chinese aesthetic cannot talk without history, because it's kind of the product of the 5,000 years history, the culture, the social, the economy, anything. So I'm thinking, in current time, will history be introduced on a city scale by developer or urban designer? Or will architects reflect history on each project they did, or on an architecture scale? To both of you, to all of you.
yang first lah.
Yang, do you want to share the history? Yeah, in a project, whether you will think about the history or you will include the history in your design.
Actually, in some project, the local history will be restructured. History, we need to identify which is valuable to
Yes.
keep continue in this area. So, but for this topic, I think we are talking about not all the building or all the architecture or all the landscape should continue to the whole the history what they before, because the history is keep changing, keep growing.
Yeah. Yes.
We are very difficult to identify which periods history is the good. So I think if the street combined with the lot of different age building, it will be the history. We need to maintain this, that people know that what happened on this street or what happened on this park in this building. So at this point, we think that is the combine the history with the now new technique combined together to make this this building, this space have their own story, and then it can be growing in the future. That's what I think.
Yeah. I think I remember when I first time went to Singapore, this whole country, the city gave me a feeling of the building is actually a bit old. I mean, the building, the facilities, and other things. Then we talk about the history of Singapore and history of China. Apparently, China has really a long history, but Singapore has a short history. But when we talk about aesthetic of Singapore, I think we cannot only talk about the history of the country, because Singapore has many culture. Like they have Chinese people, they have Malay people, they have Indonesia people, they have like people from all over the world. And the people, they bring the history from their hometown to Singapore. That's the that should be the cultural identity of Singapore should be considered, not only the history or maybe only 200 or 500 years. I think that's not true. So I think interesting in Singapore, I saw many buildings which have different styles and also appear different culture, different history elements. Yeah, I feel that that's quite interesting for me. I just want to share with you guys.
I think it's the same situation in China. The
Yeah.
people from the other cities come to this city, they bring their cultural, their local language, and then they form a new group. Then this group will be grow up in the future. So at every moment is history. History will be recorded, and then it will be impact by the environment. So I think this is the same situation.
Yes, yes.
Cool.
Yeah, I have a question for you, Desta.
Hi.
I think because Indonesia and Malaysia, I feel your culture a bit similar as a foreigner because I don't know. The culture and even the language is a bit similar. You can understand with each other. And do your architecture style or landscape design style a bit different? I mean, traditionally.
It's very
Is
hard.
there any difference or?
Because actually maybe the roots is same. Even the language, like I said, Malay and Indonesian similar. But let's talk about Indonesia first. Indonesia is also a big country, big populations, and I live in Java Island. So Indonesia consists of 5 big islands with the other millions, not millions lah, the other thousands islands. Like Pak Teddy in Lombok, then there's a Bali, then the other islands, so many. So each of the regions is actually like in China. We have our own language, we have our own culture. So within the Indonesia itself, it's very difficult to say like we are exactly the same. Every region will have their own style, even in the architectural buildings, and of course the landscape design. And then compared to Malaysia, if we want to talk between Indonesia and Malaysia, I cannot say. This is just based on my opinion, what I saw. The Malaysian the traditional architecture, I think it's quite similar with our Indonesian traditional architecture, but those one who are in the Kalimantan, like the northern part of Indonesia. But it will be very different in my city, for example, because my city is located in the like a southern part of the Indonesia. So there's a Java Island down below, and the top will be the Kalimantan, something like that. So between Java and the Kalimantan, it's still Indonesia, but we have a different style. We have different local language. So that's why maybe Malaysia is a bit similar with this. But if we have to say about the other area, even the eastern part, the Papua, it will also very different. So it's hard to say. It's hard to say. I think it's hard to say. All is different. Maybe Danny has something more because he went around Indonesia.
I confirm what Desta said. Malaysia has 2 main islands. One is in the north of our Borneo Island, and the other one is in the near our Sumatra Island, is in the western of Indonesia. So like unfortunately Rida wasn't here. Rida Razak is from Kuala Lumpur. Kuala Lumpur is part of Malaysia nearby the Sumatra Island. So Sumatra Island is in the western. So the culture, Rida said he is his tribe is Petaling Sembilan or something like that. It's tribes in our region in west of Sumatra. So the architecture, the traditional architecture is most similar. So I think the geographical factor involved or determine some kinds of architecture. It's like what we call staging house and etc. So if you see the picture that Desta said, Desta showed to us, it's in between Indonesia and Malaysia. If you compare the architecture, it's depend on which part of Malaysia is located. So yeah, I think there is connection or relationship in between Indonesia and Malaysia. We call it negeri serumpun. It means like Indonesia and Malaysia is like a closing friend, neighborhood countries which is involved each other. I think that's my answer, Zhang.
Maybe also there's a lot related to the climate, no? Because
it's not only architecture; it's also about food. My food, our food, and what our Malaysian friend food is almost the same. We eat rice quite a lot, and we love spicy. Mikako loves our chili crabs, and yeah, I think it's not only about architecture, but the fact is we are related each other.
You can see here, Yile, even Singapore is very close, right, to Indonesia.
Yeah.
So this area is very close and have a similarities. So this is the Sumatra Island Denny said before, and this is the Borneo Island. And then there's a Malaysia part also here. So in this between, so I have friend from the Samarinda, this city. Actually, he when he speak, it's like Malaysian. And
Yeah, agree.
Yeah, right.
Agree. I have a friend from Borneo Island. He spoke Malaysian.
Yeah. So
but he's Indonesian.
But he's Indonesian.
So you can see here the distance between, we are here, Denny in Jakarta, me in Yogyakarta, and the Borneo is here. So this one is closer, right?
Yes.
What about China? Because China is a big country, and then from the north to south, it's completely different culture.
Yeah, I think because China, we have different culture, different climate, different land form. It's everywhere is too different. So that one will also affect the local folk custom and culture, and will also impact the building and landscape. So I think yes, I can got it from what Desta and Danny explained. I think it should be the same in China. Yeah. I have one more question.
The only one same in China is the time.
Oh, right. Time is all anywhere is the same. You cannot imagine like when very east where the sky already dark, but very west is still like a sun, very very exposed sunlight there. Yeah, but the time is the same.
Do you change in Indonesia?
I think Indonesia changed, right?
Yeah, Indonesia has 3 times.
Three part.
3 time zone. Yeah.
The most east time zone is same with Tokyo.
I didn't know.
Yeah. 2 hours different.
2 hours different. So when we do the New Year, actually, then you turn on your TV. Yeah. So okay, the eastern part, Happy New Year, and then 1 more hour. Okay, the middle part, Happy New Year.
Yeah, that's quite funny.
Okay,
can I raise one last question? So I think our time will run out soon. But I have one last question for Mikako. Because Chinese, I think many ancient or old building in China already damaged or being damaged. I think maybe because of several reasons. One reason is the natural climate; it's naturally damaged, and another reason is like it damaged by people because we want to build more new building. But for those building, for the building which are naturally damaged, the material we usually use is timber, wood. That's why I think maybe it's easier being damaged naturally than the material used in stone or other sandstone or something. But I think in Japan, the traditional material should be quite similar with China. You also use timber, bamboo, or other things for traditional building. But I feel like you do a really good job to conserve all the buildings, and you still keep the original look of the building, but it's still the inside is still very clean, very new. I just wonder how you make that.
One thing as an architect now, like let's say like up to 20 years ago, like, no one thought about much of like keep maintaining or this kind of thing.
Yeah.
But naturally with the age and then there was a mentality. I mean, originally we have this timber culture to begin with.
Yeah.
So every 40 years we build a new one. So in the 70s or 80s, we have still mentality of, okay, after 40 years, even concrete or steel, we rebuild it. But nowadays, we have this concept of conservation, like even in a normal buildings. So when I design buildings, I always question myself, okay, how does it run? Is it easy for client to maintain and this kind of thing? And if you are a good architect, you should consider after you build it as well. This is very important now because for us, the completion is the last day of our job. But for the client, that's the first day for them to start using it. So now you really have to think about how you maintain and how client can maintain. So it's never shouldn't be difficult to maintain. Something easy. Of course, every like 10 years or 20 years, you have to kind of like retouch.
Review.
Yeah, waterproofing or insulation and things like this. So, but also now when we design building, we also like calculate lifetime cost. So sometimes it's more expensive to build it, but in the over years, it's less expensive to maintain. So this is thing that we need nowadays. We always have to think about, and maintenance costs takes a lot of money. So you really have to think about it.
Yeah.
Now also Arcasia is starting putting this heritage committee as well. So maintaining is a new the keyword for the sustainability as well.
Yes.
Not just the building new. Start using the old.
Yeah, can I ask everyone to take a photo together? I think we can record this.
Yeah.
Desta, I will count down. Okay. Can I ask everyone to turn on your camera, please? If you are convenient, please turn on your camera. Thank you.
Hold on.
I will count down 3, 2, 1, then we say cheese. Okay.
Wait.
3,
Hold on.
2, 1. Wait. Daddy. I think
Welcome.
we will have this. Yeah, we will have this kind of webinar every Saturday as part of the series with various different topic, which still engage to the sustainability in our architect perspective. And however, next Saturday is our last session, so people don't miss it. It will done by architect Rida Razak from Malaysia. He's a famous entrepreneur, chairman of ACYA, and this session will moderated by architect Sunny. And the topic is quite trendy now, the impact of COVID-19 on architectural profession. So everyone, if you are interested, please register now. It's totally free and we have limited capacity, so please do it as quick as possible. Okay, one last thing I wanna announce is ACYA will have a Asian Esport competition, and the registration is extended to 31st of July. This is the competition is without entry fee, and the award is up to $3,000. So please join us. And for the certificate, I think Desta already sent a link to the chat box. We will still process it. So please be patient, everyone. When it is finished, you can download it on where you did the registration, usually 1 to 2 weeks. And this event is supported by Arcasia Committee of Young Architects, Indonesia Institute of Architects, Yogyakarta Chapter, and Yogyakarta Young Architects Forum, and powered by Extalia Hobbies. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Have a nice weekend. Let's
Thank you.
see next Saturday.
Yes.
See you next
Thank you.
Saturday.
Thank you.
See you
Thank
again,
you.
Yile. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you,
Yeah.
Danny.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
谢谢。
Bye bye, everyone. Thank you,
Thank you,
Mikako.
Yaka.
Thank you.
Mikako.